build the mastery in order to gain the skill. If we're waiting for perfection, we're going to be waiting forever because we're human. I'm Danny, and this is the Memory Makers Podcast, the show that helps you create amazing customer experiences and make more memories. And today is another solo episode. I know normally these episodes are myself and Russ, or Russ and a guest, but today it's a solo episode, and I'm excited about the topic that we're going to be going over today, which is perfectionism. Now, a lot of people think about perfectionism as a superpower. They think about perfectionism as a feature in their skill set that helps them output amazing work. And while that may be true to an extent, I want to offer a slightly different perspective. And I want to compare the ideas and differences between perfectionism and mastery. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, and you do this on a regular basis, you probably consider yourself a high achiever because you want to be great at what you do. We want to be great at what we do. We want to constantly improve and be at the top of our field. We want to deliver amazing work. And the word that comes to mind with this is mastery. It's not just about being good at something. A lot of people are good at a lot of things, but for mastery, it's about becoming extraordinary at a certain skill through deliberate practice, deep focus, and a connection to purpose, a connection to a bigger reason, a connection to a why this particular thing is important to us. Mastery is when we do the daily practice and improvements to continually get better. And we put in the extra effort that other people may be unwilling to do. And it's about the journey itself. It's about the process and not necessarily the destination. Mastery is about that process and the journey. But then we think about perfectionism. And perfectionism seems similar to mastery, but there is one really, really key difference here. Mastery is about progress. Perfectionism is about fear. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. The idea of perfectionism is that it requires you to be flawless. And sometimes you think you need to be flawless before you even begin. I need to have perfect skill. I need to have perfect conditions. I need to have perfect everything, and then I'll start the process. But the problem is that we need to start the process first and build the mastery in order to gain the skill. If we're waiting for perfection, we're going to be waiting forever because we're human. We're inherently not perfect. We can't be perfect in everything that we do. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to mess up. And failure and mistakes are a required ingredient of mastery, right? We're running from the very thing that we need in order to grow. Because if we look at our strongest skills right now, it comes from a history of lots of mistakes, lots of process, lots of progress, lots of practice. We didn't get perfect right away, right? We never became perfect. It was the process through it all and the failures that we made along the way that have developed our journey of mastery, that have developed our ability to have high skill in any given area. And when you think about perfectionism, perfectionists often delay, they overthink, or they avoid taking action altogether because they're so afraid of falling short. Mastery builds momentum. Perfectionism builds stress. And I love that line right there, and a couple other pieces from this I learned from Brendon Burchard, who is an author and personal development coach. And some of the other things that we'll talk about later in this episode also come from John Maxwell. I love taking tools and lessons from the thought leaders across the industry for leadership and productivity and personal development and be able to help bring them to you, the listeners of this podcast here. So some of the other ingredients of mastery when we think about this, because we can see that this is a more helpful path for our own stress levels, but our ability to take action now and make progress now. The idea of mastery is more helpful than the idea of perfectionism. So mastery requires consistent growth. It's very closely tied to the idea of the compound effect, where you have small, seemingly insignificant improvements made consistently over time will produce extraordinary results, huge results. Sometimes that growth is really, really slow. We all want things to be done now. We want to be able to have them now, but the idea of consistent growth, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen even in a week. But think about it this way. If you make a 1% improvement in a skill every single day for 1 year, by the end of that year, you'll be 37 times better at that skill. Because 1.01 to the power of 365 is 37.78. So by getting 1% better every single day and compounding that day after day, by the end of a year, 37 times better. And it's hard because in the moment, from one day to the next, or even 1 week to the next, it doesn't feel like you've made a whole lot of progress. It doesn't feel like much has changed. But over time, when you zoom out and you do this for a period of months and up to a year, and if you continue that beyond, the amount of results that you can achieve are huge. And we have to be committed to the consistent growth and the consistency piece. Another way to think of this idea is, I'm sure you've probably heard the concept of you take a penny and you double it every single day. And after a month, you've got $5.3 million. And that's the power of the compounding effect. But here's an interesting perspective that not a lot of people consider. At the end of a month, you'll have $5.3 million. Halfway through that month, 15 days in, do you know how much you have? $163. It's a massive difference between that and 5.3 million. And this teaches us that we have to trust the process, because the work that we put in now, eventually we will achieve results that feel sudden, but they're not sudden. It's all the work that we did prior to this, leading up to this, that consistent work that we made every single day to get to this point allowed us to achieve these results. And so that's the idea of the compounding effect, and that's the idea of being able to put in the consistent growth. The last ingredient I want to talk about when it comes to mastery is that it requires discomfort. And this is something that I learned from John Maxwell. He has this idea about a rubber band. When a rubber band is laying in its relaxed, comfortable state, it has no value. There's nothing you can really do with that. It only becomes valuable when it's stretched to be able to hold something together. That's when it has value. And we, you and I, as leaders in our businesses, are similar. In order to add value and bring value to our company and to the business, we have to be able to stretch ourselves. We are like rubber bands. The more that we can stretch, the more value we bring to others, the more value we bring to our team and to the community. As we expand, we become more valuable. We create more impact. We build more mastery. And it's not just mastery in the skills, that's important, but it's also mastery of ourselves. When we're stretched, we are not comfortable. You can't be comfortable and be stretched at the same time. That's not possible. Because mastery requires discomfort. It requires us to be stretched. And sometimes we do things intentionally to intentionally stretch ourselves. And maybe that is, I'm exercising on a regular basis. I'm learning really hard skills. These are the things that we choose to do in order to stretch ourselves to become more valuable, and in order to condition ourselves to be able to handle new problems that come up, because we're learning the things now to be able to handle the future problems that we don't even know about yet. And sometimes life is going to stretch us in ways that we didn't expect, in ways that we did not ask for. You can look around the industry. We'll look at one giant issue that we've all had in the industry that we all never want to experience again, which was COVID. None of us asked for that. And it stretched us in ways that we didn't want to be stretched. It challenged us in ways that we didn't feel all comfortable with. It was difficult. It was hard. It was challenging. Yet, we're all still here. Our businesses are still here and still standing, and we're moving forward. And we are better versions of ourselves today because of these challenges. And we realize that every challenge, every obstacle, every difficulty, every one of those that we experience, we are becoming the person that we want to be. Because that process is not just about building the skills through the journey. It's also about building ourselves through the journey and who we want to become. And there's a line that I heard one time that I really love. The things that we don't want to happen make us into the people we do want to be. Every challenge we've experienced has helped us in some way. Every skill that we have now came from a history of a whole lot of challenges and a whole lot of failures and a whole lot of mistakes. It's the only way that we've made progress. And so when we step back and I kind of wrap up this episode here, it's about remembering that we want to improve all the time, but we don't want to try to be perfect. Perfect is impossible. We want to simply get better every single day and be committed to the process. And we want to be consistent in the growth toward that progress. And we want to be able to embrace discomfort. And when we do all three of those things, we can build more skills, we can become a better version of us, and we can serve the people around us at a higher level. And that's where I want to wrap things up today. If you enjoyed this topic, we have so much more coming to you every single week. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this, leave a review, and we will catch you on the next one.